Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Book Talks with Miss Thomas, and in this video, I am going to talk about Nonfiction November's prompt treatment. So my focus is the way that we treat others and specifically people who are different. I had a short that I published earlier this week to point you to the content of today's video. I'll link it below as well for you because I think it asks you some pretty important questions as you reflect on the subject of treatment. So I'm going to begin today's video with Night by Elie Wiesel, and it is the hardest book for me. It's one I've read many times. It's a beautiful novel that I feel strongly about. It's a true story of Elie Wiesel's surviving the Holocaust, and I want to post this very deliberately on the anniversary of Kristallnacht. So Kristallnacht would be November 9th to 10th. This will post on the 10th at the tail end of Kristallnacht, which translates the night of broken glass. The Holocaust was a terrible, terrible mark on our history, on the world's history. And genocide still occurs today, and mistreatment of people still occurs today. And so I'm not going to lie, this is about my fifth take of this video because I want to get it right and I want to convey to you how important it is that, we treat others with dignity. So I will begin telling you about Night by Elie Wiesel. This novel begins when he's 12 years old and he is friends with Moishi the beetle, who is an older gentleman, and he's described as, silly as a clown or awkward as a clown. He's like this really jolly, happy, silly guy. And he's considered a foreigner in the town. So he's taken away by the Hungarian police because this is very early in the Holocaust. And he somehow escapes and he comes back. So that's how the book begins. And it's the part that astounds me the most is, given what this person, Moishi the beetle, came back and told everyone, they wouldn't believe him, they wouldn't listen. And then Elie Wiesel and his father end up in a concentration camp. Now, I'm not judging, I'm certainly not. I'm just saying it's so alarming to me that we can be confronted with so much evil and just turn a blind eye for whatever reason. So in this passage, it says Moishi the beetle has returned from escaping, and it says, through long days and nights, he went from one Jewish house to another, telling the story of Milka, the young girl who had taken 3 days to die, and Tobias, the tailor, who begged to be killed before his sons. Moishi had changed. There was no longer any joy in his eyes. He no longer sang. He no longer talked to me of God or of the Kabbalah, but only of what he had seen. People refused not only to believe his stories, but even to listen to them. He's just trying to make us pity him. What imagination he has, they said. Or even, poor fellow, he's gone mad. And as for Moishi, he wept. Jews, listen to me. It's all I ask of you. I don't want money or pity. Only listen to me. He would cry between prayers at dusk and the evening. So, I think we need to listen. I love that sticker, and it's an old saying, children should be seen and heard and believed. Now, I was raised being told children should be seen and not heard, and I cringe every time I hear that phrase or see that phrase because I believe the opposite. Even if a person isn't making sense or we don't agree with them, I think it really needs to start with listening, just respectfully listening to one another, giving dignity to everyone. And to me, that's the biggest takeaway from Night. The brutality and the horrific things that happen in this book are just astounding. So the book begins with Elie Wiesel's, he's got these strong religious views, he's got a positive relationship with his father, and then he and his father consider trying to leave and escape so that they won't be taken away to a ghetto or a concentration camp, but they decide to stay, thinking they're safe, and then they do end up going to a couple different concentration camps, and they are in fact in Auschwitz as well. And just the horrible things that happen in the book. And throughout the book, we see Elie Wiesel struggling with his faith and with his relationship with his father, and especially the relationship with his father. He does remain close with his father throughout the book, but he's pretty honest about what it's like to be in a concentration camp with his father. So he does obviously survive and write this memoir, Night by Elie Wiesel. It's something that everyone should read. And again, there's his signature. He, if you don't know, Elie Wiesel won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1986, and he was a speaker. And so I had the fortune that my parents went and heard him speak, and they got a copy of his book. I've also mentioned in my U tag that I grew up in between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. And so I have had the privilege of going to the Holocaust Museum more than once, in fact. And it's a fantastic museum. If you ever have an opportunity to go to the Holocaust Museum, if you're in Washington, it's really wonderful because it begins from the beginning of the Holocaust, and as you travel through the museum, you're traveling through time. And so you see how things progressed to the ultimate devastation that brings us to the end of the Holocaust. So powerful, powerful stuff. Night by Elie Wiesel. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Mother Tongue by Amy Tan. Now, this one is actually, I said short story, but I guess it's more of an essay because Amy Tan is actually writing about her relationship with her mother and how she loves language, but her mother speaks in what would crudely be called broken English, when in fact there's nothing broken about Amy Tan's mother. I think that's the point of the text, that what we perceive as broken can in fact be beautiful. And so I want to read to you a little bit from Mother Tongue because I do like this passage, and to me it gets at the crux of what I'm trying to convey to you in my video. So you should know that my mother's expressive command of the English belies how much she actually understands. She reads Forbes reports, listens to the Wall Street Week, converses daily with her stockbroker, reads all of Shirley MacLaine's books with ease, all kinds of things that I can't begin to understand. Yet some of my friends tell me they understand 50% of what my mother says. So I'll stop there. But the point is, people, I firmly, absolutely believe that everyone has something really wonderful and profound and unique about them. I believe that of every individual, and I sincerely hope that I approach every individual with that belief and that they can see that in me. And I feel like that's what Amy Tan is saying here, that her mother may appear to be, broken or I think watered down English is another thing that's referenced in the text, but she's brilliant, and she has a great deal to offer. And so Amy Tan winds down the essay saying how the Joy Luck Club and her books about women and mothers is really a tribute to her mother, and when her mother finishes reading it, she is the only audience that matters, and she says, easy to read. And I just get teary-eyed when I finish the essay because I love Amy Tan. I'd said in my introduction to nonfiction, I did go through an Amy Tan phase where I just devoured her works. And so Mother Tongue is special to me because I enjoy the author, but also I enjoy very much the message here that, you know, this brilliant woman, and only 50% of people say they can understand, or most people say they can only understand 50% of what she's saying. Make the effort and try to understand what people are saying, please. I think you'll find out that it's worth it every time. Okay, and then ending on a funny note is funny in Farsi. This is a really great book. I'm afraid to try and name the author. Firoozeh Dumas. I hope I got that at least close. But this is a collection of vignettes that a woman writes as she comes from Iran to America. It says that it's a New York Times bestseller. And I want to tell you a little bit about just the very beginning. And she's not the only author that I've read that has encountered hot dogs with some concern. So think about that, right? You're from another country. You have no idea what people eat in America. And somebody says, would you like to eat this hot dog? I mean, no, thank you. I don't really want to eat your pet kind of thing. So she talks about food in America, and she has this uncle who's come, beloved, hysterical uncle, who's come to America, and he eats all this food and he puts on all this weight, and then he orders this, metal thing to put around his body to try and lose the weight because he wants to go back to Iran and find a wife. And there's just some really cute things in here. So I'll tell you a little bit about, it's called Hot Dogs and Wild Geese. And I'll read you a little bit of her vignette where she's talking about language and coming to America. Moving to America was both exciting and frightening, but we found great comfort in knowing that my father spoke English. Having spent years regaling us with stories about his graduate years in America, he left us with the distinct impression that America was his second home. My mother and I planned to stick close to him, letting him guide us through the exotic American landscape that he knew so well. We counted on him not only to translate the language, but also to translate the culture, to be the link to this most foreign of lands. He was to be our private Rosetta Stone. Once we reached America, we wondered whether perhaps my father had confused his life in America with someone else's. Judging from the bewildered looks of store cashiers, gas station attendants, and waiters, my father spoke a version of English not yet shared with the rest of America. His attempts to find a water closet in a department store would usually lead him to the drinking fountain or the home furnishing section. Asking my father to ask a waitress the definition of a sloppy Joe or tater tot was no problem. His translations, however, were highly suspect. Waitresses would spend several minutes responding to my father's questions, and these responses in return would translate as, "She doesn't know." Thanks to my father's translations, we stayed away from hot dogs, catfish, hush puppies, and no amount of caviar in the sea would have convinced us to try mud pie. And that is just a little taste, get the pun there, of Funny in Farsi, which is a really sweet, fun collection of vignettes. There are some sad ones, she is mistreated, sadly, by Americans sometimes in the text, but there are some really funny passages too. But the thing I like about it is that we get a glimpse of her family as they are in America, and we get to see them through her eyes in a way that makes us love them. And that's my hope, is that when we look at new people we encounter, we see them in a way that's just open to understanding and kindness and maybe even love. Again, I had a short that I hope you'll see before this video. So I usually have a short that points to the upcoming video. And since today's video is about the treatment of others, I have a short that was published before this. I'll link it in this video, and I'll put the link down in the description box. but it challenges you to really think seriously about the way you treat others and, the way you treat yourself even, and to really think about that and to think about, do you know how much you matter? And do you know how much the others around you matter? And, do your thoughts and actions demonstrate that? Because it's important. To be repetitive, it matters. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. This is an important video to me. It's one that this is about my 6th or 7th attempt, so maybe this one will actually get posted. I just want to say it right. I want you to know that you matter and that you treat yourself and everyone around you as if they matter too. Thanks so much for listening. Bye-bye.